Welcome to the latest episode of First Word in Sport. I'd like to be the first to congratulate Arsenal on a very well-deserved title win. There's no way back from here, is there, James? Even Arsenal couldn't bottle this.
No, Arsenal's title, first time in 21 years. Congratulations to the most unwatchable title winners ever in Arsenal Football Club. And how much luck do you want? I hope haven't used all their luck in one season though. So
Okay, well, we'll come on to that game in a little bit. Let's work through the Saturday and Sunday games in some sort of chronological order. So we had a pair of games on Saturday afternoon that shaped up to be utterly dire on paper, and so it transpired. Burnley 0, Bournemouth 0, Sunderland 0, Brighton 1. The only takeaway I really have from that Bournemouth game is Bournemouth are becoming the masters of creating an awful lot of XG and shots without really looking like scoring. I mean, they're obviously a little bit unfortunate in that Tavernier hit the post, and there were some other chances, but their finishing, once Krupi isn't scoring every chance he gets, their finishing has looked very, very average.
it's the hardest thing in football, really, isn't it? To put the ball in the back of the net, and that's why top centre forwards are paid the big bucks, because it's the hardest thing in the world to do. Put the ball in the back of the net. Yeah, they don't create that many big chances, just a volume of chances at the moment for them. They're just a weird team, aren't they? They go through patches when they look really good and like you can look at them and go, they're a fun side to watch. And then you look at other times and you go, they're quite ordinary. But I suppose that's with the type of players they've got and the standard of players they've got. They're going to have peaks and troughs.
I'm also convinced that it applies to Brighton as well, is that
Yeah.
they are better against teams who come and play against them. The same with Brentford as well. Is if teams are ambitious against them, and it tends to be the better teams, and what ends up happening is they end up having a lot more joy on the counter-attack. When you ask these teams to break a team down like Burnley, they really struggle, and relatively their results look better against the better teams.
It's a lot easier to set your team up to be defend than actually be on the front foot and attack. Because you need better players to do it.
Well,
So
I was thinking about this in terms of Brentford tonight against Wolves. Is there's such a big difference between, as you say, is setting up a team to not lose and then be able to hit teams on the break, and then actually being able to dominate teams, have the majority of possession, and break a team down which is playing a low block against you. And it's just the different levels in this game. And it's where it's so difficult to go from mid-table Premier League up to those third, fourth, fifth places in the league, where that's the big shift. That's what you're expected to do.
it's a different mindset as well. When you have a lot more of the ball against lesser teams like Brighton did and Bournemouth did at the weekend, or Bournemouth we're talking about, it's quite hard to mindset shift. When you're playing the big boys, you have, 35-40% of the ball. And then when you play the lesser teams or the teams at the bottom of the table, you're up at 55-60%. It's quite a big shift in mindset and going, oh, actually, I've got a lot more time on the ball in different areas I'm not really used to at times. So, yeah, you do see it. That's why you see the what's the word I'm looking for? They're inconsistent is probably the word I'm looking for, kind of thing.
And I think I keep coming back to it, but it's the one big red flag I would have about Glasner, and we saw it last week against poor European opposition in AEK Larnaca, is he cannot for the life of him play a game where his team has 65-70% possession and come up with solutions. But I mean, we'll wait to see with that one. Brighton game, just quickly. I mean, Sunderland obviously had a goal disallowed. The Minter goal, combination of just abysmal goalkeeping. I mean, obviously Roofs is out injured at the moment, and also just a huge amount of luck. He's not intended to do it, and that game's ultimately come down to a miss-hit shot and poor goalkeeping. And we end up like creating narratives about, oh, this team's playing well or this team's playing well. That's a classic example of a game that's just been decided by a bit of a freakish moment, really.
It's a solid 0-0, isn't it, barring that? 2 0-0s in the 3 o'clock games. They did, if you look on paper, they didn't excite anyone really. Just waiting for 5:30 games. Yeah, I mean, Sunderland are just they're just returning to type really, aren't they? Was that 3 home defeats in the last, or was it on a row? Liverpool, Fulham, and Brighton kind of thing. Goalkeeper, just the goalkeeper hasn't played any football really this season, isn't it? So
it's tough for them. It is tough for them. Let's go to Arsenal first. So Arsenal 2, Everton 0. If you didn't know, James, Max Dowman, obviously Rooney-esque. Some of the narratives with regard to Dowman are off the charts. Let me just back up a little bit and put that into some context why I'm saying that. Is Arsenal were bang average in this game. They were so average. Everton was so unfortunate not to take the lead. We had a Calafiori miracle clearance off the line. We had McNeil hit the inside of the post. The ball ricocheted. The Everton striker missed effectively, not an open goal, but we had other chances. Garner missed a good chance. There were so many good opportunities for Everton in that game that they didn't take. Arsenal end up scoring through Gyökeres, and it was a mistake by Pickford. Shock, And I think what's interesting about this with Pickford is what we talk about. Shot stopping, he's very, very good. It's the other stuff like the crosses and that separate the really good keepers and the elite keepers, and it's partly why there's a reason why Pickford hasn't been signed by other Premier League teams. And then obviously Pickford's gone up for the corner. Dowman's, it is a good finish from the young lad, but the way people are carrying on, it just seems a little bit OTT, particularly given that the first goal which he crossed was just poor goalkeeping. And then the second goal, there isn't a goalkeeper in there. Is, you talk about moments being sort of blown up and blown out of, contention. I remember hearing about Dowman 2 years ago because my nephew plays at Arsenal and he got an opportunity to meet him, and he was at the training ground and everyone knew he was going to be a superstar back then. And he looks unbelievable for his age, and you rarely see players that talented. But the difference with a Rooney is, I remember Rooney came onto the scene and was smashing 30-yard worldies in. There's a big difference between the two. Dowman will be very, very special, but it's like just calm down a little bit.
Doesn't help that John Terry said he was Messi levels. I'm like, please, he's 16, just turned 16. He looks a special talent, don't get me wrong. But Odegaard went to Real Madrid at 16. And everyone thought he was the next biggest thing on the planet kind of thing. These players don't always come to being the top of the top. Now, he looks really good. And it is, as you say, it is just a cross in. And a top-class keeper or a bigger keeper comes out and takes ball, man, everything or catches it. Pickford just can't do it. He's too small. He's 6 foot. And as you say, there's a reason why a top Premier League club or European club has never come in for him, because he's just not dominant in his area, and he'll concede goals like that, and no one will pick up on it because they're always not a highlight reel, and his highlight reels are just Shea Given saves. Shea Given was exactly the same as Jordan Pickford, a very good Premier League keeper, but not top class at all. And then Dowman, he puts it away nicely, but Pickford's in the other area trying to get the equaliser. So we need to calm down. But Arsenal, they just get luck. Luck in midweek with the dodgy penalty. Luck with the Carabao Cup draws. Luck with the FA Cup draws. Luck with the Champions League draws. Luck with the Premier League with Man City being bang average. Liverpool not even average. Man United, we know, are a mess. Chelsea, we know, are a mess. The easiest Premier League since Leicester won it.
Well, I think the thing about the luck aspect is, so obviously Pickford should have done better, but there's still a lot of luck involved that the ball's ricocheted off the player and it's literally ended up a yard out in the middle of the goal. I mean, that ball could have gone anywhere. Could have ricocheted out the other way. Could have gone for, behind the goal. It could have literally gone anywhere. But it's literally landed a yard from, even Gyökeres couldn't miss it, type of thing. It was, there was just, there's a lot of luck involved. The margins are so fine at this level. And you know what? Arsenal fans won't care less. And I don't blame them. Why would you? There's plenty of times where you have seasons where everything goes against you. You get all the injuries, you get bad cup draws, you get the poor decisions. They've had a ton of really good decisions this season as well. You get tons and tons of things go against you. So why not enjoy it when, things do go well for you? But I still maintain, I want the hashtag unwatchables. I want it trending. That's what I want. I've called this months ago. They are terrible to watch for such a big, supposedly great team.
Yeah, as he said, their fans won't care one iota that they're going to win the Premier League. And they're winning 1 out of 4 because who cares? And it's amazing, actually, when you think about it. When you're at the top of the league, you get all these little things of luck. And you do make your own luck, I do get that. But the amount of luck they've had this season has been off the scales. But they won't care, as he said. They're going to win the title.
Liverpool had a ton of luck last year as well.
Yeah, exactly. As I'm saying, at the top of the table, you get these decisions. I don't know how it happens, but obviously the pressures from the referees, etc. But yeah, you do get these little bits of luck that help you along the way. And Arsenal are the best team in the Premier League, but it's not really a high-level bar that have been the best team in the league, because they'll get wiped to the floor. The Guardiola team, his 2 teams, and the Liverpool teams under Klopp would have wiped the floor with this lot. So yeah, but they've won the title. Congratulations, first time in 21 years. But it won't go down as a team where you go, remember that in 21 years' time.
Look, they won't care.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. I don't. I'd love to be winning the league badly. Who cares? But as a neutral, if you wanted to watch it, they're not great to watch. The Premier League isn't great to watch at the moment anyway. So
let's move on to Chelsea, Newcastle. So the big money for Chelsea before this game, really on the back of the team news that Newcastle would be lining up without Tonali, without Joel Linton. Obviously Bruno's missing, makeshift midfield. Everything was aligned for Chelsea to return to Stamford Bridge and put in a performance. And I think they were a little bit unfortunate in that they were miles the better team in that first 18 minutes. And they were looking really threatening. They were a little bit wasteful. Newcastle, on the break, bang, 1-0. And after that, Newcastle defended brilliantly. And yeah, Chelsea looked just short of ideas.
Having a point on Liam Rosenior here. Called it. Don't think he's only given a job because the owners managed Strasbourg and he got job mid-season. He just given Reece James a 6-year new contract last Friday, called him the best right back in the world, and you play him centre midfield and you ask him to man mark Nick Watanabe, who's playing as a 10 for Newcastle. Newcastle realised this after a while, and that forces a goal because he goes into position. Shadowper looks at Reece James. They don't know who's supposed to be marking him. Livramento has acres of space to play the ball in. Simple cross in for Gordon to finish. 1-0. Like, I don't understand. You've just gone out and you just given your captain, who's been good this season. He's not a centre midfielder. He's just not a centre midfielder. He's a right back, and a very good right back that he is. And he's been fit for most of the season. First time in a long time. Why are you playing him centre midfield in a Premier League game, in a big Premier League game? He's not a centre midfielder. He showed that against PSG as well. Get him back where his best position is. It's like what Liverpool tried to do with Linders, with Trent, and played in centre midfield. It's almost like the player wants to play centre midfield now. Absolutely out of nonsense. Can we go back and talk about the elephant in the room, please, before the game even started? There's absolute nonsense of this huddle on the halfway line. So 2 points which I can't really make my mind up, actually. So the referee, Paul Tierney, absolutely loves himself, like most referees, want to be the centre of attention. Again, he just stands there And it's almost like he's doing it on purpose. One, to be the centre of attention, and two, for a referees union to say, this is absolutely ridiculous what Chelsea are doing. Like, kind of thing, just make a complete mockery of it. I'm not moving. He's almost like pre-planned it to stand in on the centre circle spot. And secondly, Chelsea, please, lads. You did it midweek when Enzo Fernandez pointed to your Club World Cup badge, when he won that by default anyway, because some of the big teams weren't in it. And secondly, stop all this nonsense, having a huddle on a penalty on the centre circle. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, they did it against Villa in midweek, and it was just, I just find it weird, the other team's reactions to it as well. So certainly with the Villa one, Onana was stood by them, and they're preventing obviously a player from taking a kick-off, right? I would just love to see someone as big as Onana literally just walk through, just start pushing them around, and then, and then it's up. You then make you're not pushing him in the face or anything which would get you sent off, but what you're doing is you're forcing the referee to actually act and just put an end to all the nonsense.
Well, I'll tell you what I'd do. If I won the toss, I'd choose to kick off, and I'd stick 3 players, or 4 players, or 5 players on the centre circle, so they can't do it. Because if it's
I think one of the problems you have is if you start planning these things too much, is they're having some success in making you think about these things, right? It's very simple. The referee just says no, like just move. Like you want to have a little little circle of hugging and kissing in the corner. Like you can go and do that elsewhere on the pitch, okay? But you don't do it in the centre circle, and that's on the referee. It's really simple, just to say move. If you're not going to move, I'll start booking each and every one of you. It's not a difficult thing to resolve.
But we know with these referees,
seems a bit pathetic.
Yeah, and it's Groundhog Day with Paul Tierney, isn't it? Really, I mean, the 2 major decisions he got wrong in the game: Reece James and Malik Thor's a clear penalty, absolute stonewall penalty. Doesn't give it. VAR looks at it and goes, no, it's not a penalty. And then the tackle on Cole Palmer as well. It's just a penalty. 2 bad decisions again from Tierney. But it's okay, mate. Well done. You're refereeing next week, or you're on VAR again next week. There's no punishment for these referees. Absolutely zero punishment. He missed 2 clear penalties, and VAR missed 2 clear penalties on Saturday afternoon.
Well, certainly with the Palmer one, I think the problem was it wasn't giving him real... if it'd been given... So this is where I always come back to the on-field decision. If it'd been given, they weren't overturning it.
It's a penalty, though.
So one thing I did notice with that goal was just... So one thing Chelsea have struggled with is centre-backs. And one thing with the goal that they did score is the discipline you need in terms of how accurate your defensive line is. It makes and breaks these sorts of situations. If they'd been perfect in terms of their high line, he'd have been offside. But they weren't, and suddenly you have a player who's just a little bit behind the others, and it's those fine margins that make all the difference at this level. Defensively, it's such a poor goal to concede. And yes, you do need pressure on the ball, but even after that, defensively, it wasn't great.
And they need to make a decision who's their number 1 in goal. Sanchez or Jorgensen. You can't keep them flip-flopping those 2.
It will be Jorgensen, but I think he was ill this week. That was why he didn't play yesterday. That's why he didn't play on Saturday. So It wasn't a case of... Because what you can't do is you can't flip-flop between goalkeepers. You can't go, oh, well, he's had one bad game. Oh, we're going to bring the other one back in. Oh, no, he's had one mistake. Out he goes and comes back in. You can't flip-flop like that. You have to bite the bullet and say, here's 4 or 5 games. Let's see where you're at. I think what Rosenior likes is what Jorgensen can actually do with the ball at his feet. Neither option's great, as we've said a few times. Really bad result for Chelsea, by the way, in terms of that top 5 places.
It was at the time, yeah. And just one thing, fair play to Anthony Gordon coming out and calling out Wayne Rooney and Alan Shearer for not knowing what's going on in the week for the Barcelona, him being ill, etc. Some of these pundits at times just need to take a step back and say, We didn't know he was ill at all because they kept it quiet for a change, and the team news wasn't leaked at all, and the team news wasn't leaked at
Well, no,
Chelsea.
that information was known when Rooney was making the comments.
Yeah, that was, yeah. But during the day, he had no idea that Gordon was missing against Barcelona.
No, because the assumption was, oh, he's just a bit soft. Oh, he's got a sore throat. He's not well enough to play. You know, he clearly wasn't well. And I wish more players would speak out like that.
Yeah, I did like his pre-match. Oh, not pre-match, but after-match interview. Yeah.
West Ham, Manchester City. Obviously, this was part of the reason why Arsenal have won the title as well. Manchester City again. I mean, it's a game most of the time they would win. I mean, West Ham had one shot on goal, scored. But it was one of these weird games when you were watching it. I just admired, really, the rearguard action from West Ham and Nuno. They conceded the first goal, and it was a fluke, as well. We talked about lucky goals. It was a lucky goal. He didn't intend to shoot. Miss-hit cross. And West Ham didn't give up. They were able to get back into it with the Mavropanos header. And Nuno set out his stall, that he was willing to sit in there and make them difficult to beat. And yes, City had a few chances. Guehi missed an unbelievable chance at the end. But they put their bodies on the line, and they are fighting for their lives.
Massive point for West Ham. Massive point. When those Somervilles, he said, huge point for West Ham. They know they can get out of it. They look at the other two around them, Forest and Spurs, and they go, well, if we can get our house in order, we might get out of this. But going back to City, by the way, again, that team selection by Guardiola and his now sidekick Pep Linders. What are you doing? Like playing Mamouche and Semenyo. Semenyo as a 10 when he got Cherky on the bench. I just don't get it at all. I know trying to ease the burden on Haaland. He's scoring no goals at all and he doesn't really offer that much. He's not scoring. We know that throughout his whole career. But that first half was... They didn't do anything. They made it easy almost for West Ham in terms of just the middle of the pitch. The game was congested. Like, it's just weird from Pep. The last couple of games, his team selections have been odd, to say the least.
I don't have as many issues with the team selection he made here as I did with midweek. This one was at least consistent with what he's done in the last, 8 weeks or whatever. In terms of Marmoush has played a lot. Obviously, with Doku being out, Semenyo's playing a lot. You've got Aït-Nouri and Nunez as the fullbacks. One of the differences was Diaz missed out. Kusanov came in. By the way, I mean, I do watch Kusanov at times, and he's quite useful for City at times. Because there were a couple of times on the counter-attack where Bowen one-on-one against a Diaz and Guehi, I think he would have had a bit of a field day. But Kusanov's pace, it just completely shut Bowen down on that counter. If you're going to play a high line, Kusanov sometimes will have a role to play against certain strikers in certain situations. And he was quite effective. Yes, he has a calamity waiting around the corner all the time, but it was actually quite effective at shackling Bowen in particular.
Oh, Warlock made a career out of it. Take away Kusanov's pace. I know it sounds ridiculous, but he's a bang average defender.
No, I'm not. That wasn't really my point. My point
was that I get your point on the high line. You do need the pace, yeah, but I still maintain he's a calamity and he's not a good defender. But then I maintain that Guardiola can't spot defenders to save his life. Just look at his record of buying centre-backs over his 10 years at Man City.
But anyway, massive blow for City. Their seasons, I mean, could end pretty quickly, really. League's gone. You obviously got Europe midweek. That can end in disaster. Or looking like it's going to end in disaster. Next weekend, you've got the Carabao Cup. They could have a situation where they only have the FA Cup to go and they've got Liverpool. I mean, nothing to worry about, James, hey? Let's go on to Sunday's games. Palace Leeds. So, first up, obviously, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, that penalty, shocker. You just have to take these chances when you get Leeds were the better team for large parts of that first half. They were on the front foot. You have to take advantage of your situation, and you can't be missing penalties when you need points to be staying up.
I was trying to remember the last Premier League player to miss a penalty, miss a goal completely.
Jess, so JR, what you don't realise is I had to sit through my eldest daughter on Saturday morning miss a penalty in exactly those circumstances. Pulled it wide.
As a highlight point, you don't see it that often that a player actually misses a goal completely. I can't.
Well, you shouldn't do.
I know. But I'm just saying, I can't remember when it happened. Because not obviously, I've seen Sabozai miss a penalty hit the crossbar.
I've seen Salah blast a couple over.
Yeah, but this season I can't remember whatever. But yeah, anyway, yeah, it's a huge missed opportunity. But they did well though. Leeds.
Okay, but then what you ended up with was the worst refereeing incident of the weekend. And the type of situation that just, again, makes you just think, what on earth is going on? So, Goodmanson had been booked earlier in the game. It's an innocuous foul in the middle of the pitch. The referee hasn't realised he's already booked him. Okay? He then books him. And then there's a delay as the Palace players appeal, saying, "Oh, you've already," they're aware that he's already been booked, and they're like, "Well, you've booked him. You've got to send him off." Had to check with the fourth official. They had already booked him, and then you get sent off. I mean, it wasn't a yellow card anyway. I mean, it is so pathetic that you're refereeing a game and you don't know someone's already been booked.
And that shows how stupid referees are at times, because if he realises he booked him, he's never going to book him again for that.
I mean, the point is that isn't that is
not a booking. But if he realised he was on a booking, he probably doesn't even give the foul anyway. He just doesn't. It's just made a huge mistake, the referee, and now the player will be banned for next week as well, so he can't play as well. So I think that means that he's out the not the FA Cup next game. Sorry, the FA Cup's not for a while, is it? But it's second bookable, and you can't appeal that either. So
miss the Brentford game
for a decision that's clearly wrong, and you can't appeal second yellows. Please.
Fair play to Leeds for digging in and holding on. I think I did see at one point Palace hadn't. I don't know if it finished that way, but certainly after, I think 75 minutes or something, Palace hadn't had a shot on goal.
Adam Wharton wasn't playing either. He didn't start the game, did he either? So
well, they made a few changes. Palace did. Henderson wasn't playing and things like that. So I wonder if that's with Thursday in mind away at Larnaca.
Nice 4.5 hour flight for them to go over there to Cyprus.
But good point for Leeds. I think they'll obviously regret the Calvert-Lewin miss, but when the other teams have all picked up points around them, it's not too much damage done. Let's put it that way.
Especially when they're down to 10 men for the whole of the second half. I think it's a good point.
Forest, Fulham. I'm increasingly of the belief that there's a level of randomness about football, and the margins are so fine that we end up creating narratives about stuff that we probably shouldn't do. I mean, Forest had a penalty disallowed for offside by a relatively small margin. They had a goal disallowed for offside. They hit the frame of the goal. Aina, unbelievable hit. I mean, when we talk about teams staying up or not, essentially you could easily see that the whole future of Nottingham Forest Football Club hinge on whether they stay up or not. If they get relegated, I'm utterly convinced they are absolutely screwed financially. And, the margins are so small.
VAR wasn't brought in. I think he is offside for the non-penalty, and it's a bad error from Calvin Bassey just to push the player over, because it is a penalty, and the referee got it right, but obviously offside. The second one, you can't tell me that's why VAR was brought in. So giving offside on a toenail or a shoulder blade or something like that. And all,
But we see that all the time. We've seen those ones all year long.
yeah, and it annoys me in terms of we have no definitive way of saying when the ball was actually kicked because of the speed of the balls. You can't match up when the ball was kicked and the player being offside. I'm willing to bet a lot of money that he was actually onside when the ball was properly kicked and not when they put up the lines or whatever, the semi-automatic offside. I think he's ever... Look at the Fulham players, by the way. They don't even appeal. Because when defenders kind of know or they have a suspicion, they just put the arm up. At least one of them. There was 3 of them. Not one of them or the keeper, so 4 players, didn't even think about putting their arm up. That to me means they know, and they're there, obviously playing, they know that's a goal, he's not offside. That's not what VAR was brought in for. VAR was brought in my view, to stop the clear and obvious. They keep on saying that, don't they? That's not clear and obvious at all.
Well, you have to draw the line somewhere with offside. That's the only thing I would say. So
you do.
Whatever you come up with, you're always going to get those sort of edge cases which are really tight. But I think Forest can... I mean, the problem for Forest is you look at their fixture list, and that is one of the easiest games that you're going to have, really, in terms of trying to get a win to stay up. I was just looking at the relegation market. So at the moment, it's West Ham 3.05, Tottenham 3.2, and Forest 3.4. I actually think Forest at 3.4 is probably the value out of that one. I mean, I've been talking to a friend about this particular market in quite a lot of detail. And we tend to think that Forest are generally overrated in terms of, they have a lot of good players, but their performances haven't really merited or haven't really matched up with the players that they have and the prices that are being quoted at the moment.
Which is a huge 6-pointer at Tottenham on Sunday. Tottenham Forest on Sunday. That is massive.
A win for either team and the other team is in a whole world of trouble. Man United 3, Villa 1. I do just want to take a moment to call out all these Villa fans, and there are thousands of them at the moment on social media, on forums. The amount of abuse they're giving Emery and some of these players has to be seen to be believed. They've become so entitled, it is off the charts. And if it's not complaining about Emery's tactics, it's complaining about how badly Villa has spent the money, despite, all the restrictions being in place. It's utterly ridiculous that, we can have Villa in 5th place, or 4th place even, because it's still above Liverpool, and on a shoestring budget, and fans complaining. What is wrong with you? Yes, we're going through a bad patch. But I'll tell you what, in the same way that when Villa were on that 11-game unbeaten or winning streak, every close game Villa won. You only have to look at yesterday's game. First goal from United, set piece. Really, poor defending. The second goal, counter-attack. Again, poor defending from Konza. After a horrendous pass from Bailey. The third goal was a lucky deflection. I mean, the margins in these games are so small, and sometimes it doesn't go your way. It's not going Villa's way at the moment, not helped by obviously the injuries, etc. But it's just football. That's the very nature of the beast. The reaction and the overreaction is ridiculous.
It is. You're still in the race to get top 5 and still in a Europa League quarter-final because you beat Lille on Thursday night. So yeah, absolutely you need to... Got John McGinn back. You hope you get Tielemans back at some point. I know Kamara's out for the season, but you might get Tielemans back after the international break coming up in a couple of weeks. So, yeah. And he didn't play that badly yesterday. That's the thing. You played all right. You didn't take your chances. United did.
1-1.
That's what happened.
When it was 1-1, Villa were the better team. Villa were look more likely to score again than United did. And the problem was, always touched on it many times, is United in transitions have some seriously high quality players. And, Bruno was brilliant again. it's a great finish from Cunha. That's what happens when you have, you know, players. That's why you spend 60, 70 million pounds on strikers. You know, it's what you get. They have some brilliant attacking players. That Manchester United team is not amazing by any stretch of the imagination. The only issue I would have with Emery is some of his team selections are a little bit baffling. You keep a clean sheet against Lille, and why? Because you have Torres and Matson. Okay, I hated that. I sent you a message before saying Mings and Digne. It's like it's not. You have to get away from this idea that Mings should be anywhere near this starting lineup. He is not nearly good enough. You know, he's there for the set pieces. What, like Casemiro scored? You know, it's his passing isn't good enough as well. You know, and it's this. And Digne, he looks. I'm not going to say finished, but it's the small things when you actually watch him play. In terms of the way he passes the ball, you know. And the same with Mings, is they're not passing the ball directly into a player's stride. You know, it's a yard out, or a couple of yards out, or the first touch is slightly poor. And it's all those tiny little things that make such a big difference in terms of the fluency of build-up play. Just drives me crazy that those two played yesterday. But, yeah, it's just football. But these Villa fans, honestly, they're so entitled. Just give it a rest. If you don't want to follow Villa, jog on. Seriously, if you can't be happy that you're in fourth place in the league, as you say, and you've got Europa League match against Lille in midweek, honestly, you don't know you're born.
Mings was rubbish pre-ACL. He's even worse now after his ACL. Shouldn't be playing. Pau Torres should be playing as a left-sided centre-back. As he said, though, like, the brilliant finish from Cunha, by the way. Heck of a good ball. And yeah, that's what happens when you got a top-class player. Tucks it away nicely, and then Sesko big defect and it's 3-1. And then if you haven't watched the game, you think, oh, it's comfortable 3-1 for Man United, and Carrick's the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saviour. He's going to get Champions League. Well, it does look like he's getting Champions League for United, and he probably will keep the job. But that would be hilarious. On what premise he's going to keep the job? We'll find out next season how good Michael Carrick really is when they're playing Champions League football constantly. He's shown nothing to me apart from a bit of organisation, gone back to 4-2-3-1, which the players are used to and more happy playing. But he's shown nothing to me that he can actually go and win things at United. They've got some bang average players, we know that. Look at their back line. Still don't rate the keeper highly enough anyway. They'll need to go and spend another £300 million in the summer. But you don't trust Ineos to get that right at all.
Yeah, but the difference is, you know, you have Villa scraping around the bottom of a barrel for the last 2 or 3 years, selling their best players, and United can go and spend 200 million every summer. It doesn't matter whether they're any good. They'll go and spend another 200 million. They'll go and bring in 3 quality players or 4 quality players. It's where it's so tough to compete. Gary Neville, I hear so tiresome. You know, so something, you know, just saying, you know, that was a game, there was nothing in it. And the next thing you know, Gary Neville's there, oh, it's such a comfortable win and all this sort of stuff. And you're just going, honestly, he shouldn't be allowed to do United games. Carragher shouldn't be anywhere near Liverpool games. Keown shouldn't be anywhere near Arsenal games. It's not difficult to not have incredibly biased commentary teams.
Adam Smith for Arsenal as well. Yeah, it's not a comfortable 3-1. So even in the first 15, 20 minutes, Villa were the better side, created more opportunities. They didn't create massive chances or whatever like this, but they just played a better football.
And so one of my favourite things, so it's about the 90th minute, so it would have made no difference to the game. But it looked like Abraham should have got a penalty. So we never saw a replay. So he nicked the ball off the defender. The defenders then clattered him. And they were playing out the back. And Neville goes, oh, that's a foul. And they kept the ball for the next 2 minutes, United did. And they never went back and looked at it. I haven't seen a replay, but it looked like a penalty at the time. Obviously wasn't given, but it didn't even look like it was reviewed. It was just so weird. Nothing was ever mentioned about it again. I'm sure it would have made no difference to the game. But it's just weird, some of this stuff that happens.
I've seen it many a times when they don't show. Talked about a game early in the season for Liverpool against Man City, Chiesa. Now, I don't think it is a penalty at all, but they never showed it on Sky Sports at all. You have to go and find it on the American NBC or Peacock feed, another feed, when they do show it. Sky have complete control, the directors, of what they show anyway. But one thing on that, did the ball touch Onana or not for Barkley's goal?
I suspect it probably did.
So, yeah, Onana kind of admitted that when he was looking anyway. So he said there's no conclusive evidence to overturn a decision. But how many times have we heard that? Even remember the goal against Brentford when the ball went kind of over line Leon Bailey, the goal you conceded against Brentford.
But it's that it's inconsistency. It's just, it just drives you crazy.
Yeah.
They just seem to just make it up as they go along, honestly.
Correct. It's quite funny when you take a step back from it and you look at those decisions and you just have to laugh because even Onana on the pitch knows it's hit him, touched him, and he's in offside position, and they've just gone inconclusive evidence, and you're thinking it must wind managers, players, and fans alike. Well, it does because that's why we're talking about it today. But anyway, have to laugh at some things like that. You just have to at times.
So let's touch on the. We need to put this game into context, right? This is a Spurs team who came into this game having lost 6 straight, absolute shambles of a team. They've gone to Anfield and got a last-minute equaliser. James, the platform is all yours. Sorry. It's been your platform on this subject for the last 5 months.
October the 4th. Still got the WhatsApp message to you saying, it's Groundhog Day, isn't it? It really is. I'm getting fed up talking about it and speaking about it on this pod, WhatsApp messages to groups. When everyone's playing badly, and the Liverpool have got some really good players, like Wirtz is a good player, Szoboszlai's a good player, McAllister's obviously had a terrible season, but they've got some really good players. It's down to the coach. He wanted 2 quick wingers, so he made a load of changes. So he played Frimpong as a right winger, and he played Rio Ingamoa, who was the best player in the park for 65 minutes, 17-year-old kid. And guess what? Didn't work, his tactics. Brought back Andy Robertson. And guess what? He shat himself for the header which conceded the equaliser from Richarlison. Experienced nonsense. Absolutely shat himself. Kirkus must be wondering, what did I do wrong in midweek against Galatasaray to get dropped? Kanate, I can understand his performance getting dropped for Gomez. He didn't cover himself in any glory for the goal either. Virgil van Dijk didn't cover himself in any glory. Liverpool conceded 12 goals now after 90 minutes in the Premier League this season, I think it is, or something like that. They ran 9Ks less than Tottenham. This is Tottenham with 12 to 14 players out, 7 to 8 starters out, and they came to Anfield, had more balls than Liverpool Football Club, and should have won the game. They were a better team. Liverpool were outthought, outrun, out-tactically done by Igor Tudor, the worst team in the Premier League. 6 losses in a row. And you go to Anfield and you look at the better team. FS3 grows some balls and sack this inept Dutch manager. Because this season's over. And I said to it months ago, you can see it. Without Trent Alexander-Arnold in that team, when he told the club in March 2025, a year ago, the Carabao Cup final was a year ago, when they got thumped at Wembley to Newcastle. I know it finished 2-1, but it was a thumping. He was absolutely finished. He can't do anything, and it's time for him to go. His team selection yesterday was just absolute nonsense, and Galatasaray on Wednesday night will be looking at and going, we're better than Tottenham, miles better than Tottenham, and look what we did. Look what Tottenham have just done. It's a shambles. Absolute shambles.
Talk me through Frimpong right wing, or right midfield, Szoboszlai right back.
This is Slot. Listen to his press conference on Friday. Talks about PSG and wingers again. Why is a Liverpool manager constantly talking about a French team? You're the Liverpool Football Club manager. It's too big a job for him. It's been proven. He's just not good enough for the job. Frimpong is a right wing back or a right back. He's not a right winger. He just never has been, never will be. And then he played Gakpo.
But it's weird, right? Because Szoboszlai has been your best player this year by a country mile, right? him at right back is wasted.
Absolutely. It's just nonsense. And then he plays his two sons. He's got to play Gakpo, and he's got to play Gravenberch. He's got to play McAllister. Curtis Jones clearly isn't playing because he's had a huge falling out with Slot in recent weeks and months. You look at all the stats with Curtis Jones, right? Yeah, he does hold on to the ball a little bit too much. But you look at all the stats, the amount of running stats he does, the amount of pressurising stats, the amount of forward passes, the amount of times he keeps hold of the ball. He's brilliant at it. He's in the top 5 for a lot of stats over Premier League players in the Premier League this year. But Slot doesn't want to play him because he's had a massive falling out. That's bad man management again from Arne Slot.
We talked about that rumour months ago that they'd fallen out, and everything in terms of his reluctance to play him in certain games, certain positions, would suggest that absolutely they've had a massive falling out.
Yep, and he came on yesterday, Curtis Jones, and he was downright shocking. Didn't run, didn't care. But I can kind of understand it. Because if you watch that performance of Gravenberch and McAllister midweek, they should have been hooked after 25 minutes against Galatasaray, and then they wheeled it out again on the weekend. And you're looking there, as your player, and you're the local lad, you're looking at, hang on a minute here, I'm not given a fair chance. And when I come on, yeah, he should have a better attitude. I get that. But you can kind of understand the mental side of it when I sit there week in, week out, and I'm not getting a chance. And when I do play well, I know it was Wolves in the Cup away, I understand. But he was given a chance and he played really well. And you look at all his data, and Liverpool Football Club are run by data nerds, and it's been proven to be right. And you look at all the data on Curtis Jones, and he's miles ahead of Gravenberch and McAllister on every single metric. I sent to you something in the week about Gravenberch in Champions League this season. He's running less. He's the 5th most in the team. Your midfielder, defensive midfielder, is running 2Ks less than Florian Wirtz and Curtis Jones on average. He wins hardly any duels. McAllister won 2 out of 7 duels yesterday. They were battered by Tottenham. They scored a lucky free kick. It is a free kick from Szoboszlai, but Vicario made another massive error. He kind of redeemed himself, Vicario, from the save from Gakpo when he touched it onto the post, and it probably does stop the ball going in the back of the net. But that's Liverpool's only 2 chances. And they weren't massive chances. The free kick and the 25-yard shot didn't create a big chance. Tottenham were the better team in that game.
Vicario made another save from Salah with his foot, which wasn't given as a corner.
Yeah, but wasn't a big chance, really.
Yeah, I'm almost bored of talking about Liverpool. They look so broken. Let's talk about Spurs quickly, because massive point. And after the setback of the goal, where Vicario should have done better, he did make a good save, and he did fine after that. And it's critical as we are of, or have been of Tudor, is those players put in a shift yesterday for him. And I don't know if something's clicked in terms of them realising suddenly that actually they are in a proper dogfight. One interesting thing for me would be, okay, you got that team yesterday, went to Anfield, got a result. Next weekend, they play Forest at home. You obviously get Romero, Van de Ven, all these big names will all be available to return. Do you play them? Or do you stick with the team and the players who went to Anfield and got you that precious point?
You stick with the players that went to Anfield yesterday, wouldn't you?
Say again?
You stick with the players that went to Anfield yesterday, wouldn't you?
I'm just saying it just becomes quite an interesting call. Do you leave the Romeros and Van de Vens, who haven't been brilliant in recent weeks? Obviously, you've got massive reputations, questionable attitudes. I think it's interesting.
It'll be interesting what team they play against Atletico Madrid on Wednesday night as well.
Maybe you bring your Romeros and Van de Vens in for that.
It'd be a big call not to play your captain and your vice captain, your 2 main centre-backs in the Champions League game and in the relegation 6-pointer, wouldn't it, as well? But yeah, maybe he does. Maybe he just goes, you know what? But he's shown, Tudor, that he can make big decisions. He showed it with Kinski, he showed it with Vicario, obviously, in midweek now, not his fault he got the decision wrong. He didn't realise Kinski would have an absolute mare after 17 minutes. But he's pretty ruthless. He'll make big decisions. It wouldn't surprise me either way, but it is a massive call not to leave your two centre-backs out.
Yeah, I'm intrigued because, again, I mean, there is a narrative issue here a little bit as well in that, had the game finished 1-0 yesterday to Liverpool, we wouldn't be talking about this conversation. It wouldn't be a conversation as to whether Spurs would roll out the same team or not. I think you would just bring them back. But having got that late goal, does it change the decision? I don't know. It's something it'd be interesting to see how it sort of pans out. But it was a massive point for Tottenham, and they've done well not to lose any ground. Really every team has picked up a point over the weekend, so not much has changed. I guess the only difference is West Ham have got a difficult fixture against City out of the way. Obviously Tottenham have got a very difficult fixture out of the way. I mean, the team who really suffers is Forest, not beating Fulham. Okay, so that's Premier League done. Obviously, game tonight we have Brentford against Wolves. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Championship, James. It was obviously quite a big, very interesting weekend down the bottom of the Championship at the weekend.
Yeah, well, it started off on Saturday afternoon, didn't it, when Coventry were playing Southampton. I watched a bit of that because that was a 12:30 and they lost 2-1 at home. Bit of a shock result, that is, the way Coventry have played in recent weeks. So they lost 2-1 at home. Middlesbrough drew 1-1 to Bristol City, with Bristol City scoring, I think they scored late, didn't they, Bristol City?
Injury time, yep.
So yeah, injury time. Ipswich won, and Millwall had a shocking home result against relegation threatened Blackburn. They lost 2-1 at home, so Ipswich are up to third now, and Millwall dropped down to fourth. But
so the big part of that game was red card for Millwall. So Millwall were 1-0 up at the time, red card. Blackburn scored 2 late goals. In terms of their aspirations of staying up, those 2 goals were just enormous, particularly with what was happening elsewhere. I mean, obviously Leicester took the lead against QPR. I remember looking at it, they were 1-0 up, and with the way other results were looking, it looked like it was going to be a great weekend for Leicester. Obviously they've ended up losing that game 3-1, which is a shocker. Blackburn have obviously scored those 2 late goals, and West Brom got the comfortable win. And just, Oxford were unlucky in that Charlton scored in injury time against them, or it would be even worse. But the bottom of that table is looking very, very tasty.
yeah, so you've got at the bottom, you'll see Sheffield Wednesday are down, and then just looking here, you've got Leicester on 38, Oxford 39, Portsmouth and West Brom are on 40, and Blackburn are on 42. So, and there's 9 games left, or
I think
8,
Portsmouth
9
have
games
got
left from teams.
Portsmouth have got a couple of games in hand, I think, as well.
Yeah, Portsmouth only played 36 when all around them have played 38. So Portsmouth play tonight. They play Derby at 8 o'clock tonight, Monday night. You've got another game tomorrow. You've got Watford, Wrexham on Tuesday night, and Southampton play Norwich on Wednesday night. So there's 3 games in Championship.
It was massive set of games in the Scottish Premiership this weekend, because the big news was that Kilmarnock won, Hearts 0, and then Rangers and Celtic both won. So it's blown that title race not wide open, but it's certainly given hope to the old firm teams.
Yeah, so Hearts 63, Celtic 61, Rangers 60. I think you said it a couple of weeks ago, didn't you? You fancy Celtic to win this title just because of their experience. They know how to win titles, but you kind of want Hearts to win it just to shake it up, kind of thing. First team, wouldn't it be that almost since Aberdeen won it, almost, didn't they?
It would be.
Since the old firm's not won it.
Under Sir Alex.
So yeah, so a long time ago.
European football games?
Yeah, elsewhere, League 1, Ligue 1. I'll see PSG were given the weekend off by the French authorities, which we talked about it on Friday. I mean, just nonsense. But there you go. Lorient. Hang on a minute. Lorient lost, didn't they, at the weekend? So they are now 4 points behind PSG, and PSG have obviously got a game in hand. They lost at Lorient, actually. So in La Liga, Barcelona won 5-2 yesterday. Yamal was rested. Rafinha scored a hat-trick. 2 penalties, but he scored a hat-trick. Heavily rotated team for Barcelona. So they're still 4 points clear of Real Madrid, who won on Saturday night, where 2 centre-backs scored. Huijsen and Rudiger scored. Valverde scored another absolutely brilliant goal, smacked in the top corner from 20-odd yards out. But the best goal of the weekend, it's by far the best goal.
You won't see many better goals all season.
Arda Güler from 65 yards out to make it 4-1. Pings it in the top corner from 65 yards out. Keeper rushing back, nowhere near it. It's a fantastic finish. It's the best goal this season, you'll see. Go and check it out if you haven't seen it. In the Bundesliga, Leverkusen drew 1-1 with 9 men by Munich. So Bayern Munich had obviously 9 players. Diaz got sent off for a second bookable dive after scoring the equaliser. Harry Kane came on. But what's transpired after that is the referees looked at it in the change rooms after the game and gone, yeah, it's not a dive, it was a mistake. He's owned up to the admission after the game to both sets of teams and to the media saying, yeah, I made a mistake. It wasn't a second bookable. It wasn't a dive. Sorry, basically. Now, point 1, great to hear that referees come out and admitted his mistake after the game. Point 2, VAR's got to be allowed to get involved in that. And now, will they allow Diaz to play next week in a league game, or will this nonsense continue that you can't appeal a second bookable, and will he have to miss a game, suspended? Obviously Leverkusen had a goal disallowed in the last minute for offside as well, but quite refreshing to hear a referee come out and admit he's made a mistake straight after the game and not hidden behind it like, oh, it happened, and not hear from them.
Just touching on that game, so that tackle from Jackson, it wasn't good.
No. So because Jackson got sent off in the 40th minute or something.
So Terrier, who it was on, is now doubtful, unsurprisingly, to play against Arsenal on Tuesday night.
Yeah. But that should be longer than a 3-match ban, by the way. That's like not a good tackle.
It was naughty.
Yeah. But yeah, fair play to the referee in that. Serie A, Inter Milan drew at home to Atalanta on Saturday. Napoli beat Lecce. Cesc Fabregas' Como beat Roma 2-1, and Lazio beat AC Milan 1-0 last night. So that looks like, well, Inter Milan had a poor result at home to Atalanta, but they're still, I think they're 8 points clear now in Serie A. So yeah, that's a roundup of European football.
So one thing on Italian football is I see Ashley Cole is taking his first head coach role in Serie B for Cesena. I'm assuming he's going to take a similar route to Fabregas in terms of taking a smaller Italian team. I know Cole has done a lot of coaching, so it'd be interesting to see how that goes for him.
Yeah, good on him. Going somewhere, obviously probably doesn't speak the language at all, but yeah.
So let's touch on, obviously this week we have some massive Champions League games coming up. Probably isn't quite as much jeopardy in some of these games as the English teams would have hoped for. I mean, I was talking to someone in the week and they were talking about how poor the English teams had done, but you know, is when you actually go through the fixtures that the English teams had, there was a lot of very difficult fixtures in there. You know, away at Paris Saint-Germain, away at Real Madrid, away at Leverkusen, away at Galatasaray, away at Atletico Madrid. You know, the only home game was against Barcelona. Yes, there were some shocking results and performances in there, but there was also a lot of tricky games. On Tuesday night, let's touch on, you know, Arsenal, Leverkusen. Arsenal dodged bullets against Leverkusen in that last tie. I mean, Arsenal haven't been great. I just struggle to believe that Arsenal won't get through this tie. They don't, that they won't create something from set pieces or. I mean, what was interesting about that Leverkusen first game was that they didn't concede a corner in that first half. They clearly made a really conscious effort to not concede a corner, and they were able to do it, and it makes all the difference for this Arsenal team.
Same tactics game from Leverkusen. They'll try and stop set pieces coming in because they know that Arsenal are very good at them. Stay in the game to 65, 70 minutes. Leverkusen's job tomorrow night. Stay in the game. Don't give them any cheap opportunities to get the crowd up, etc. Arsenal expect to win. The crowd are expect to win. Stay in the game 65, 70 minutes. You never know what might happen. There might be a stupid decision made by an Arsenal defender. The crowd will start getting restless. It only takes one deflected goal or worldie. That's their game plan tomorrow night.
I do think that crowd will get pretty restless pretty quickly.
That's what I'm saying. Just stay in the game for Leverkusen tomorrow night, and that will be their game plan. Can they do it?
The other two games, we've obviously got Chelsea, Paris Saint-Germain, 5-2 from the first leg. It's just tough to imagine this Chelsea. It's tough to imagine this Chelsea team beating this Paris Saint-Germain team by a 3-goal margin. Yes, I know they did in the Club World Championship. This feels a very different situation.
Having the weekend off for PSG will be huge. Dembele's just come back from injury. He played obviously in the first leg last week. He's had the 6 days to recover. It's big for him. Chelsea are going to have to score 4 or 5 tomorrow night to get into extra time. I can't not see PSG not scoring. They've got too much talent going forward. Now, they will give you chances, PSG. Absolutely they will. But Chelsea at some point are going to have to open up. And we know PSG have got some great attacking threat on the break with pace as well. So, a long way back for Chelsea, I feel. It could be a fun game to watch because Chelsea are going to have to come out. Well, they're going to have to come out and they're going to have to,
I think for Chelsea, as weird as it sounds, you might, in that first 10, 15 minutes, hope to get an early goal and really put Paris Saint-Germain under pressure. But what you can't do is, you can't just give Paris Saint-Germain too many easy opportunities. As you say, you don't want to be having to score 4 and 5. So there has to be some sort of balance between, I think if they could get to the last half an hour of that game needing 2 goals, it wouldn't be the end of the world for them. Let's put it that way. Because if they could get one more, you'd see Paris Saint-Germain suddenly get very nervous in the last 5-10 minutes type of thing. But what they can't do is, if they're 1-0 down after a half time, it's obviously game over. It's quite a tricky balance between when you're trying to chase down a deficit like that.
Yeah, PSG are 10s on to go through.
Man City, Real Madrid, 3-0 first leg. I mean, this is a bit different to that Chelsea game in that I genuinely could see City winning 3-0 or something like that. This isn't a brilliant Real Madrid team. This isn't a team that's going to have Mbappe or Bellingham and Rodrigo and some of these other players. It isn't a high-class Real Madrid team. City haven't been good, though, this year. They haven't been battering anyone, really. But, I don't know, I just have a sneaky feeling that, whereas I think the Chelsea game is over, for this City game, it just feels like there is still a little glimmer of hope for them.
Yeah, they're only 5s on Madrid to go through in this qualify. Yeah, I don't think Mbappe's going to be fit and available, is he? I don't think so. Obviously, Bellingham's out anyway as well. So, same team for Real Madrid. Will Camavinga start? I think he will do as well, just to give him a bit more solidity in midfield and play that 4-4-2 again and allow Vinicius Junior not to track back and just allow him to play up front almost on his own on the left-hand side. Just need Harden to score, really, but up against Rudiger and Huijsen, would he play Huijsen? Dean Huijsen looked quite good last week anyway against him, so if Pep Guardiola stops overthinking things and plays Semenyo on one of either wing, is Doku back available?
Doku's back playing. So Doku has to start. I'd start Doku, I'd start Semenyo on the wings, I'd start Haaland, and I'd start Cherki in behind.
But
And
then I'd also start. But then the problem is they do. Then if you play Cherki and you play Bernardo and you play Rodri,
I, I didn't necessarily say Bernardo definitely
but
starts.
he's going to play Bernardo anyway because he's the captain. So, um,
I'm just saying I can
yeah,
understand why you might want two holding midfielders in like O'Reilly or you might go O'Reilly and Rodri in there.
I just think you need some physicality up against Camavinga, Valverde, and Tchouaméni as the.
I think the point for me would be that yes, Bernardo, great player in certain situations, okay, but Cherki is more creative than Bernardo. Cherki has magic. There's something magical about Cherki in terms of, and he has that. He has a weird X factor that you just don't know. I don't think he knows what he's going to do half the time. And if you're looking to score goals in a game like that, I would rather have Cherki trying to create the magic than I would Bernardo.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to Courtois having another worldie of a performance. He is so good. He really
He
is
is so good. I mean, that's the levels.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And then the other game is the continued story of Boda Glimt go to the Portuguese capital, Lisbon. That's the early game, 5:45 UK time. Boda Glimt are at Sporting. I think they're brilliant, Boda Glimt. I really do. It's the whole story of the Champions League this season. They are more than likely to be in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. It's fantastic. They're a fun team to watch as well. That's the thing.
They play good stuff. Wednesday night, early kickoff, Barcelona, Newcastle. Obviously, Newcastle, great result that first game. I keep thinking that Newcastle are going to hit a brick wall in terms of fitness, energy levels, and everything else. The amount of tough games they've had has been unbelievable. And this is another one that, you have to think Newcastle on the break with Gordon or I suspect Elanga will play up there. Barnes, with their pace that they have up front, they can cause this. If they can get enough of the ball, they can cause this Barcelona defence all sorts of trouble. But you have to think that Barcelona will be way, way better than they were at St James's Park last week.
Yeah, they will be a lot better. They are good at home, Barcelona, very good at home. Obviously, Yamal had the weekend off, so he'll be back. Rafinha's obviously scored hat-trick, 2 goals yesterday, penalties. But Lewandowski played. I'm not sure he'll start, might start. Torres. Yeah, Newcastle will cause Barcelona problems on that break. And again, set pieces down Burn as well might cause them some problems. That's a game, and it's great that game's a 5:45 game actually for people who can watch that on Wednesday night.
By the way, I wonder if Newcastle go three centre backs again, and play Hall, Livramento as wing backs, play obviously Botman, Theo, and Byrne as the 3 centre backs.
Yes, good point. They did it at PSG, didn't they? And it was very successful.
Well, they got the draw away at Paris. I mean, they're a bit fortunate in that first half, but it just feels like it might be a pretty good option because what they don't necessarily need is 3 attacking players up there.
They can rely on you could
rely on Gordon and Elanga or something like that.
Yeah,
just sheer pace.
Yeah, because you're not going to have that much of the ball anyway, because you can't get the ball off them at times. So yeah.
Liverpool Galatasaray, obviously 1-0 to Galatasaray. I mean, this is going to be an interesting game in as much as I do sense natives are a little bit restless in Liverpool. So not just yourself, James. As a general rule, it does feel like this isn't a great Liverpool team at the moment. Yes, Anfield on a European night is always a special occasion. I do just wonder with these players. I mean, one of my takeaways from yesterday was attitude again. I know we've touched on it many times this year. Maybe they'll get up for this game, but you talked about distances covered yesterday, things like that. The lack of hunger and desire from this Liverpool team, it just has to be seen to be believed. As you said, summed up by that Robertson effort. It was so pathetic. the lack of hunger. And I just wonder, if Liverpool don't get that early goal, they'll come under pressure pretty quickly because they obviously have to score.
Galatasaray bang average. Liverpool are just downright bad. And Victor Osimhen, he bullied Van Dijk and Konate last week in Istanbul. He'll do the same again, depending who Slot plays as a centre-back. Does he play Gomez or does he play Konate, Van Dijk? Who's he played left-back? There's loads of question marks in that Liverpool team. Talked about it. They are the same price as they were yesterday against Tottenham. No, thank you. Absolutely no, thank you. Liverpool don't create enough going forward. So they have a big problem. When they want to shore it up and they don't want to get counter-attacked or in transitions, he goes and plays a load in midfield and tries to be hard break down, but then he can't attack. So as soon as he opens it up and they go basketball against opposition, they can't attack and they certainly can't defend. They leave themselves wide open on counter-attacks and transitions, and they've not got the legs to get back. But he plays his sons, Gravenberch and McAllister, in midfield, who haven't got the legs at all. Could get very nervous very quickly. And if Galatasaray start well, they had a comfortable win on Saturday as well in their domestic league as well. So, nervous times at Anfield. But surely the players have got to take a little bit of responsibility and get the attitude right. Even so, I think majority of them have checked out under Slot. But that's suddenly now a very tough game. It's the biggest game of the Liverpool season. It really is now. And if he goes out of that game, Liverpool lose and go out of the tie against Galatasaray, then they have to travel to Brighton on a 12:30 on a Saturday.
Well, I was thinking more if Slot doesn't... If you don't beat Galatasaray, he shouldn't be on the bus for that Brighton game, surely.
Yeah, he should have been sacked last night, to be honest. But they're too... Edwards and Hughes are too... They think he's his man anyway. And it's just... Anyway, but going back to the game.
I can understand whilst you're still in the Champions League, for example. But if you get knocked out by Galatasaray... I mean, surely he's gone. But anyway, Tottenham, Atletico Madrid, 5-2 first leg. Hopeless start for Tottenham. I mean, the only thing giving them any chance is the fact that Atletico Madrid aren't nearly as good away from home as they are at home.
Yeah, they're pretty poor away from home, Atletico Madrid. Tottenham would take a lot of confidence in yesterday's result at Anfield and performance.
If Tottenham could nick an early goal or two, who knows?
Just keeping Julian Alvarez out of harm's way at times, though, isn't it, really? So, yeah. And then the other game is over, isn't it? Bayern Munich, Atalanta, the tie's obviously over. Bayern Munich will just coast through that game. They won't do any sort of... It's just almost a training match for them, isn't it? The tie's completely over. It's 6-1. It's just a game they have to play. It's just a meaningless tie, essentially.
Thursday night, Europa League, you have Midtjylland against Forest. Obviously, Midtjylland have a 1-goal advantage after the first leg. That's a tough game for Forest. Midtjylland, they're not a bad team. I know Forest dominated possession and chances in that first leg, but Midtjylland are not a bad team. I think Forest is... I always say it's very difficult for teams to have big game after big game after big game and be up for all of them. And every game Forest are playing at the moment feels like a massive game. That Fulham game was a massive game. It's just difficult to always get up for these types of games. And with Forest struggling to score, if Midtjylland obviously do score at home, Forest, you're asking Forest to score at least 2. And just struggling to see Forest scoring that many goals at the moment.
So what team will Forest put out? And 2, will the players be thinking more about the Premier League game on Sunday? Because it's hard not to.
You never know with players, do you? I mean...
That's the thing.
I've said before, they should have, even before the first leg, because, right, my point was that in a game such as that Fulham game, it could come down to the finest of margins. Who's to say if their team hadn't been rested that they wouldn't have won that game on Sunday? that could have been the difference between staying up or not. Your 0-0 game, very fine margins, an extra, few days off could have been the difference between, make a huge impact on the season. But I think once you've gone down this route that Forest have, it's too late now to start resting, or resting players for Midtjylland. The damage has already been done almost.
It is, but it's just the mindset, the subconscious mindset of the players, isn't it? That, there's a 50-50, am I going in for this when I got Tottenham 3 days later?
I always wonder, do the players really care that much? It's not a cup final.
Tricky game anyway for them. Away European games are tricky, yeah.
Villa Lille on Thursday night. Villa 1-0 from the first leg. I mean, obviously, if Villa avoid defeat, they go through. Look, you can never take these things for granted. Villa have had some average results against some pretty average teams at home recently. Been a little bit unfortunate along the way, but 1-goal margins are never comfortable. But they've done the hard work there. They just need to finish it off. And then in the Conference League, Palace, I think they rested some players yesterday against Leeds with this game in mind. They have to be going to Larnaca and getting a win. I just cannot imagine, imagine Palace sacrifice their Premier League season for this Conference League, and you're losing to teams in knockout stages to Larnaca over 2 legs. It just doesn't even bear comprehension.
They need to go there and really dominate the game, but we know with Glasner he hasn't been able to do it, has he? So
I always think Larnaca, they'd snap your hands off with penalties now.
Well, the teams know each other very well, don't they? So yeah, third time they've met this season. So yeah.
But so some interesting football coming up. Obviously, again, you've got the game tonight as well, the Brentford Wolves. So a week full of football action. Let's hope we're talking about football for all the right reasons. Leverkusen win, Galatasaray win, Barcelona win. Am I missing any others? Midtjylland win. Am I missing any others, James? Larnaca win.
Lille win. 2 other points on football quickly. Did you see the Tierney Barry, the Everton striker, was complaining that his friends got attacked? Well, you said your friends had celebrated the Gyökeres goal, lad. So don't give your mates tickets in the Everton end and they celebrate the opposition scoring a last-minute goal kind of thing. And then the Barcelona presidential elections were yesterday, I believe. And Mark ter Stegen, who's on loan at Girona, he's actually one of the club captains at Barcelona, but he's obviously been sent a goalkeeper, wasn't allowed to vote due to some random technical issue that they couldn't find him on the system. Because he's a member, because they're run by members, aren't they? They've got 110,000 members, Barcelona. Their motto is more than a club, isn't it? So yeah, he wasn't allowed to vote. Quite farcical scenes yesterday of the presidential elections.
Well, I see he's got in again.
Has he? He's been allowed, yeah. So it's Laporte and some other random, I don't know, never heard of. So Barcelona elections going on.
Yeah, that ballot sounds almost as good as the ones that see Infantino come back in every year. One of those. Anyway, let's wrap it up there, James. Thank you as always, and we will catch up with people soon.
Cheers all.